My name is Chay Taylor. I used to be a lawyer and a decorator and all sorts of things. Being a lawyer is probably one of the best things I ever did, and it's something that I always wanted to do. You could ask me from when I was little what I wanted to do.
A police officer with handcuffs.
A tax lawyer and work for the IRS. Oh, right, I had no idea what I was talking about.
FBI.
I did not end up being a tax lawyer. I ended up going to the DA's office, and that is the single best job I've ever had in my life.
They rescue people and put bad people in jail.
It was exciting, something new every day. Why people did what they did and committed the crimes they committed fascinated me. And I also really wanted to help people who had been affected by their behavior and their actions. We watch about bad people on TV.
Dateline, that's Dateline.
It's a proud parenting moment. If you want to be at the DA's office, you have got to work harder than the next person because a very limited number of jobs. DAs turn over, new DAs are elected, you just really have to distinguish yourself. Being a good trial lawyer is all about the preparation. It might look, at first blush when you see someone in trial, very natural, but it's not. The amount of preparation that goes into trying a case is insane. I think the one thing that does make a difference in being a good DA is you have to understand people. You have to have a good sense of people. More than anything else, in terms of being a DA, was being a cheerleader. You are not ashamed or embarrassed to be in front of a group of people. You are okay having attention and focus on you. A cheerleader has to persuade a huge crowd that may or may not want to be into a game or cheering for a team. You've got to persuade that group of people to tell them to do what you want them to do, just based on your personality. And that's kind of what being a DA is. You want those 12 people to not only like you, but to do what you tell them to do. Having children was basically the end to my law career. It is not the end to a law career, but the way I wanted to practice and the way that I wanted to do it was basically the end, because I do things all or nothing. And so I could not be a mom and be a DA at the same time. And I just always liked the idea of taking a space and turning it into something else. I always had the ability to see something and see what it could be and not just what it was. With this house, I wanted to make it look like it had been here for quite some time, even though it was a new construction. This room is probably my favorite. Really scoured Houston and all over looking for antiques and things that would make it look like it was very collected. Found the chandelier. It's a vintage baccarat, and it just worked perfectly. I just stopped doing the designing because Bahia Bay started to take off and required a little more of my time. Bahia Bay still gives me that creative outlet, just in a different way. Now I'm designing for a body as opposed to a home. Sportswear, swimsuits, and cover-ups all for a real body, with a real woman in mind, not a supermodel. We didn't take a ready-to-wear swimsuit and just put our label on it. We actually created patterns. We all have very different body styles. We tried on a bunch of swimsuits and found a few that we thought complemented all of our figures. So then we started the pattern process, which was a very long and arduous process of getting the fit correct. There's been a lot of trial and even more error. It's difficult because it lays directly on the skin, so if it's not perfect, it shows. We get our fabric from a number of places. We have some overseas contacts, and we also have some contacts in the US. Then just trying to get them manufactured in a cost-effective way so that the swimsuit does not cost $400, because cost was a main concern of ours. We wanted to keep everything under $100 or right about at that price point. A lot of front-end planning to do your homework. Make sure that you've got the finances, hidden costs, and things that you don't really anticipate spending money on. Know exactly who your consumer is. Stay really focused. Keep your collection tight. When I was at the DA's office, I had to be forward-thinking. When you do something like Bahia Bay in a clothing line, you really have to think long-term. You can't just think in the short term. Or you've got to think, where do I want my business to be in a year or two or three? Work up to each and every one of those goals. It's almost like a baby in milestones. And so I think that being a lawyer really helped me be able to focus. Growing up, my dad was gone at 5 o'clock in the morning and came home at 10 o'clock at night. And I always think to myself, if I ever had a long day, I was like, you didn't have as long of a day as your dad did, and he did it day in, day out for years and years and years. And so, I think that probably influenced me more than anything else, really. He grew up in South Texas as a son of a migrant farm worker, and in fact, my dad would have to take off school 6 months of every year and travel the country with his family and pick whatever was in season. They didn't have running water, just really, really poor, meager conditions. His success came with an extreme amount of hard work. I still have letters that he used to write me in college talking about if you want to play hard, you have to work hard. I was not necessarily the best student, not because I didn't have the ability, but because I was probably a little lazy. I don't think I really understood what it meant or appreciated the value of being in school because it was just a given and I kind of took it for granted. But as I got older, I understood what he meant, and I knew I needed to define myself and distinguish myself and really give myself that edge. If you're going to do something, do one thing, but do it very, very, very well. And that is my advice from not having taken my own advice.